Hi everyone, Vegas Film Critic here, Jeffrey K. Howard, here to review the documentary I Am Talent, the story of Thalente Biyela, a South African teenager who was homeless, living on the streets, torn apart family, just about all the worst things you can think of, how he fought the odds, he beat the odds of making it out of the streets in South Africa into the skating scene, into the skating circuit, and achieving amazing success against all odds. Really fascinating documentary. And it's directed by, oh my gosh. Now, I want to start off right away saying, look, I am not a skating expert. There's probably a lot of people, I was looking online and like, no one's reviewing this movie, because it was a big hit at Sundance in 2015. And it's now available on video on demand platforms, digital platforms like iTunes and Amazon and all like that. And I just was surprised there wasn't much coverage on this, because the skating scene is huge, And I just want to say, look, I am not a skating expert. I'm one of these wannabes, one of these posers, because I always wanted to skate when I was a kid. I got my, hold on. Like I said, I am not a skating expert. I've always wanted to be in the skating scene. I love the skating culture. I have a lot of friends who are skaters. I love the attitude, the clothing, the lifestyle. I just love skating. Lords of Dogtown, love that film, love that documentary, and just the whole Southern California thing, because I'm a Las Vegan, I'm West Coast. So I just love the skating culture. So, but I'm no means like a mega fan, like I know everything. Like I've never even probably been on a skateboard. When I was a kid, I used a banana board. But the only skateboard that I have in my collection is the Simpsons one here, It's Krusty brand approved. Anyway, I just wanted to preface that because, I was looking online for a lot of reviews for this documentary and I couldn't find any. So maybe when people Google this and my review comes up, they're going to be like, oh, who's the idiot in Las Vegas, talking about a skate movie and he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I am here not to be a skateboard expert or expert on the skating world, even though which I'm a fan of. I'm here to talk about the documentary and about Thalente Biyela, about his story. That's what I'm here about. So Natalie Johns directed this documentary about Thalente. That's his real name, believe it or not, Thalente. He was a homeless kid in South Africa. And the documentary begins showing, how many kids in South Africa were homeless. I mean, like 9,000 kids. But a lot of these kids were street smart. They lived on the street. And Thalente's story comes from a broken home, about him surviving on the streets, surviving physical abuse from his stepfather or his father, I can't remember, abuse from his family, and living on the streets, drug abuse, drug addiction, stealing, even worse things than that. You can imagine being on the street trying to survive. And he just starts talking about all these personal things about how he's trying to better himself. He comes across very intelligent, but he just doesn't have a break. He doesn't have the tools necessary, shelter, food, and no education. He stopped going to school years ago. So the movie begins off with their skate park and Tony Hawk is there doing some sort of charity event in South Africa, and he meets Thalente and he's like, oh man, these guys recognize his talent, this raw talent. Hey, can I send you some birdhouse, some material, some promo stuff? And he's like, you can't. I'm homeless. I don't have nowhere you can send it. So the movie begins with that, and it also has footage of him at different stages of his life, 11 years old, 15 years old, and they just document his progress. So as the documentary progresses, they show Thalente leaving South Africa, going to Tampa Bay, Florida, for a skate competition that he just destroys it. Not in a good way. I mean, he cannot stay on the board whatsoever. You're watching this and you're just like cringing because the movie just keeps building up going, wow, this guy's talent's going to explode. And he learns quickly that raw talent doesn't equate success. And so he keeps meeting the right people. He keeps meeting the right skaters. He keeps meeting the right promoters, the guys over at Element, just all these different people who see his raw potential, but he's got a long way to go. He's got a very long way to go. And the movie doesn't show like overnight success. It shows years going by of him doing the right thing. And he's not a street skater. Every kid I know is a street skater, but he's more of a park skater. And so he's relearning everything, trying to learn certain tricks, trying to reprogram his brain. And then while he's trying to learn the skating side of his life, he's also trying to better himself personally. He's taking a tutor. He's learning math and reading. He reads on a 9th-grade level, a 9-year-old level. And so it's about also his personal and yet professional accomplishments. And it's a fascinating story. And I can't help think, even though this is a great documentary and a great story about Thalente making it, how many other talents are out there? How many other people looking for that shot, looking for that break that was just as deserving? But it's all about the right place at the right time, seeing the right people, and talent has a lot to do with it. But when you think about actors and directors and sports guys like basketball players, baseball, there's a lot of talent out there. But just think about it, guys. you could have some sort of success, but just think in certain places like South Africa, if you're a street thug and you're on drugs and you're stealing and I mean, just think about the odds that this kid overcame. You know, it's just absolutely fascinating. It really is. Now, while I enjoyed the aspect of the documentary that focused on the skating world and his skating abilities and all that, I wish it was more about his personal life when he got to the United States. I wanted more of the fish out of water. I wanted more of the culture shock. I wanted more of him struggling. What happened with his drug addiction? How did he overcome that? How did he overcome heroin and all of that? How did he overcome, his girlfriend, that allegedly, well, I don't know if it was his girlfriend, Tammy, his close friend back in South Africa. They'd known each other for years, and she kind of was like his saving grace. But all of a sudden now we don't see her anymore after the beginning of the documentary. Also, I just wanted more about coming from South Africa and this incredibly horrible life he had, but skating saved him. The kids that all banded together in South Africa, and then all the people he met while he was in the United States. So I just wish we had more about his personal struggle once he got here to overcome the culture shock. But it just kind of focused a lot on skating, which, that's good, but I want to know more about Thalente himself. I was really cool, being a Las Vegas native. The documentary Thalente Comes to Las Vegas. What year was it? 2013, Kenny Anderson. And you just had these great shots of them skating downtown. I live literally 5 minutes from downtown. I live in the heart of where Vegas began. And you see them skating downtown. They go by Atomic Liquor. They go by all these different places on Fremont. And I was just jazzed. I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And this guy's super cool. He was born, Kenny Anderson was born and raised in Las Vegas. I'd love to meet him sometime. Go have, I can't skate, but, go down to Atomic Liquors. Hey, if you're watching this, hit me up, shoot me an email. I'll meet you down at Atomic Liquors and we'll have, well, I don't drink, but I would. I'll take a drink with you, though. I don't know much about the business end of skating, so it was explained in the documentary. The very first stage is called flow, where you just get product from companies, if you got some sort of potential or they're trying to nurse you along. And then the next one is amateur status, where you're still not making enough to make a living, but you make a couple $100 here and there, but you raise your status from flow to amateur. Then there's professional, where you're sponsored, where you're skating everywhere. You got big name brands, I guess, from, Mountain Dew to Vans to whatever. But they were explaining in the documentary that, it used to be if you got your name on a board, if a skate company puts have your own board, like Sean Malto has his own boards, from Girlfriend Boards or something like that, or Chocolate. But the thing is, that doesn't mean success anymore. And so the game has changed in the last 10 years, 15 years. How do you equate success? It's about money and surviving. And you have Tony Hawk there with his, what was the name of the camp he had here? Indigo Skate Camp. At the end, Thalente actually goes and starts mentoring little kids at the skate camp, because he can relate to that because he grew up with all these kids on the street back in South Africa. So it's really fascinating. Not only do you get a glimpse into Thalente's struggles and his successes, but you also see the inside of the skate industry that I didn't know, some of those, how that all worked. But overall, this is a really good documentary in terms of watching how one person can succeed, and he has not finished yet. He's not finished yet. The documentary, it didn't show him signing a big contract and, all the money was come pouring in. But I'd love to see a follow-up to this in the next couple of years. So really good. It's called I Am Thalente. And it's really funny because his name is spelled funny. And, I was, in my mind, I had to relearn that his name was Talent, how you pronounced it. So, all right, for more reviews and interviews, it's on demand, by the way. So look out for it on digital platform and Amazon and iTunes and all of that. All right, for more reviews and interviews, just surf on over to my website, vegasfilmcritic.com. Check out my podcast on iTunes. And if you like what you see, please subscribe, comment below, share, thumbs up. I'm Jeffrey K. Howard from Las Vegas, Nevada. Kenny, call me, man. I'm serious. I'll buy you a drink at Atomic Liquors. Kenny, call me!